let's move on to the first part, to creating this GTM tag that will listen to the form and activate once it's being submitted. So here's the basic template of this tag. Here's what it happens. It goes something like this. Okay, so there is this form with this CSS selector. So I want you to keep listening to it. And when something happens to it, when it's being submitted, then take the value of the field text, create a variable called text and put the value of the field with this CSS selector inside. And then create the same for dropdown, checkbox, and radio button. It's like it assumes that there are 4 fields in this form, because those are just examples. And what's important here is that they're separately because each of those types needs a different kind of code to extract the value of this field. So text needs this, dropdown needs this, checkbox, and so on. So the next step is that I want to put the values from those fields into the data layer, and this happens here. So the data layer variable text will include the content of this variable text. Dropdown, checkbox, radio button. So I basically said, put those values into the data layer. And the last part is, once that is done, send a data layer event called form submission with attribute form type equal to contact us and form submission equal to footer, and send this event to the GTM. So now let's use this template to create our own tag based on our example, which is here. So the first thing is the field, the CSS selector of the entire form, right? We have to put it here. So how do I check it? I simply go here, I go double click and inspect. I find the element that is that underlines the whole form. It's this one, form method post action ID my form. I go copy selector, and I'll paste it here just so that you can see it. So the CSS selector is #myform. All right, that's pretty simple. And you can do exactly the same on your form, and you will get a different CSS selector. It's unique for this field. So you might have something that is like 100 characters long or 1,000 characters long. It might be really long, seriously. So, but don't worry about it. So this is my CSS selector of the form. So here's I already translated it, and I put it here. So it's my form. And now let's map all the fields. So the first field is name, and if I do the same thing here, so I go inspect and I can see input type text. Okay, I go copy selector, I paste it here, it's #name, and that's why it's name here. And the same happens with email, message, country, newsletter. It's a bit different with radio button because I have one radio button, it's called gender. So what happens here is that there is no CSS selector of the entire field. So all I have to do is find the name of this element, and the name is gender. So when I go here, as you can see, it's type radio and name gender. So this is the variable I needed, and I found it. And now I do, this is pretty simple. I just map those attributes on the data layer. So I go name, email. I can do it exactly the same. Then I push the data to the data layer, and the last element is I push the event to the data layer. So I just changed the form position full page. And why do you need those 2 attributes? Like you could go with this one alone, but it's advisable to use those because you might have, for example, 3 different forms on the same page. And you might want to make it very structured so that it doesn't have any everything is clear. So if I have a different one in the footer, I will put the value of this field as footer, or maybe I can change the form type. So this is not something you absolutely need, but it's good to have it just to keep it clean. All right, so I have this code, and I just copy it. I go to GTM, a GTM tag. Okay, so first I have to create this the trigger. It will be page visited, and the trigger will be page view. Which page view? I can select a certain one. So for example, page URL must contain, what was it? All right, this. So I can do it like this. All right, save it. Now I go to tags, and I create this tag. I can call it form. Okay, so it will contain a custom HTML code. And now all I have to do is copy this code here. I hope that I did not make any stupid mistake, any like a typo, and it will all work fine. But if anything's wrong in the next video, I'll just tell you what to correct. And in the trigger, I go page visited. So what this says is when some page includes basically this, then trigger this custom HTML code. I do save. And part 1 is ready. Of course, I need to have this GTM implemented on my page, but it's already done, so you don't have to worry about it in this case. Okay, so this is part 1. So I think this is enough for this video, and in the next video I'll show you how to create the variables and event trigger for this tag. All right, thank you.